Well, I think personally that it's very important. So when we are dealing with sense of sight, if we are able to see things, usually we focus on appearance. But there is a lot of variation that what we are actually interested in. It may be the shape or the size or the differences in, for example, movement, if we are talking about the liquid things, that how fast or quick, or for example, oat porridge, how fast it's moving from spoon to plate. So shape and size, they are very important things what we are actually watching when we are thinking about the plate and the food items. Textural properties, does it look like that it's soft or is it hard? Is it going to give you sound when you are going to bite it? Or we try to estimate at what is going to happen when we are going to put the food to our mouth. But color is very important aspect also related to appearance, and we have heard here during yesterday and today that music, you can smell music, you can taste music. My own research team in University of Turku, we are interested in how you taste the colors and what, for example, what kind of taste you associate to red color. And it is very individual. For some people, red color may be sweet. For some people, the same type of color, the red, may be very sour. So I think that sense of sight is very important, and this was shortly the introduction to challenges. And by the way, there is Maija Paakki here doing PhD in Finland related to colors of food. Anu and me, we are both supervising her, so it will be very, very good job what she's doing, but that's related to color world of Finnish food plate and how do we react to different colors.
Okay, there's a few things what I think it's important. There's things what you put in the plate. There nowadays plates are very colorful and colors are very important there. Freshness comes green, maybe yellow, and dark colors comes meat or something like that.
I guess in a way, kind of the sight, many would say, is the most important sense in our brains. Maybe half our brain is seeing stuff, and that within a hundredth of a second, less than a blink of an eye, when your brain sees a plate, it's already decided how sweet it is, what flavour it's likely to be, whether you are going to enjoy eating it or not, perhaps how calorific it is. So in a way, our brains have been kind of developed to figure out where the energetic food sources are, rather than having to put everything in our mouths. So we're kind of wired up in a way for sight of food, so much so that some, I suppose, would say that kind of our having three cones, our sort of trichromatic vision developed just in order to pick out the right red fruits from amongst the dark green canopy. So we're kind of wired that way, and colour's a key cue then maybe to taste. I guess nowadays you can't think about food and not think about gastro-porn, be it on the television, be it in the gloriously coloured cookbooks, be it with people kind of taking photographs of their food to send to people, and almost what the food looks like to our friends, or when the photographer comes, is as important, it seems, to some chefs as the taste. Whereas if you go back to the 1960s, kind of the French chefs seem to be, well, we just put it on the plate. It's all about the taste. And now it's as much about what it appears to be like through eye. And specifically colours, I guess we have the lemons here, and that for most of us would be yellow, I suppose, as a colour. And yet my wife's Colombian, and their lemons are green.
The limes?
No, lemons.
No, lemons?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they have the stores, you know, with this season's clothes, it's lemon and it's green trousers, green shirts, green everything. Very confusing. That then carries through from the food itself, having a culture-specific meaning, through to the colour of the packaging, in a place where I guess we eat most of our food, or at least half of our food probably, directly from a package or a can these days. but if not from there, from the plate. And I think now kind of maybe things were always white plates was standard, but now there's a lot more colour possibilities, shape possibilities in plateware, and a lot more of the chefs, I guess, thinking about exactly what combination of colour and plate, colour in food and on the plate, will go well together, more so than they ever did. And that can be used, I think, for good. You mentioned outside of restaurants. There have been a couple of studies that have just come out from English hospitals. On the one hand, saying those who are going in for surgery, they're given a red plate diet, which is probably the worst colour for a plate for people who don't eat in hospitals anyway, so that's going to put you off your food. But on the good side, a study just done in a south of England hospital said people are undernourished when they go in hospital during their stay, but by changing the colour of the tray on which the food was plated, they got a significant increase in consumption. A good thing for that kind of group.
And just by changing the colour of the
tray.
plate, or the tray,
Plate and or tray to get better contrast. Sort of the food served in hospitals was kind of very pale in colour. When served on a white plate, there's no contrast. By having a more colourful background in that case, helped to enhance the contrast of the food, and people ate more as a result. And then maybe finally coming to from the colour of the food to the colour of the plateware or the glass or the cutlery, all have a role through to the colour of the environment. You have the dine in the dark restaurant, sort of popular, that takes away all that visual expectation, so maybe no surprise that food tastes worse. Through to now kind of places like Pod in Chicago, where you can get your own little pod, you can press a button on the wall, and you can change the colour of your dining booth to suit, I don't know, your mood or something. I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of coloured environment dining.
I've noticed that the size of plates have also increased a lot, especially related to dessert, and maybe for the main meal also. Is it that are you thinking that we are able to see better what we are eating, or is it able that we do have more time to observe that what we have there related to presentation? Is it so that the plates has increased?
Yes, of course. And sometimes when we pick up new plates, it's we get some idea what we put on the plate when we see the plate, because it's so important how it looks empty, the plate, what we could put on the plate.
So it's like a frame or for the...
Or circle or something. It's very important and it's also fun.
I guess there must be obvious health implications there. The bigger the plate, the more you eat. And Brian Wansing's done some beautiful studies looking at sort of size contrasts, and that would be kind of one of the easiest nudges to move people towards healthier eating, would be to reduce plate size or bowl size from here or anywhere else. But I want to note separately also, as there's a shift from just putting the food on the plate, as the French chefs did and told the rest of the world to do in the 1960s, to today thinking, how will my plate photograph? Then the bigger plate gives you more of a canvas to play with, and now you see some of the chefs starting to think, on the one hand, going down, can we make our food look like art? Copy a painting on the plate, through people playing with very asymmetric plating. So some of the Chicago chefs now just put all the food on a very huge plate and then pile all the food just on one little quarter of it for some sort of dramatic effect. That's quite what it does. Through to people now, like in a linear in Chicago, where they get rid of the plates altogether and just the dessert is thrown, painted onto the table, and you eat direct from the table. So kind of removing plateware altogether to create some sort of visual dramatic effect. It's kind of gone beyond the food, I suppose, to...
Is it sort of an effect of surprise, part of it?
Maybe like that, when you say that, close your eyes and open wide, that kind of surprise element there must be part of it. Yeah. Or that reminded me of the most powerful food experience I've had is at the Fat Duck restaurant about 10 years ago. the first time I went, and one of the courses was the waitress comes to the table and says, "Open wide. I'm going to feed you now." And that's such a shocking thing and takes you back
To
around
your,
the theatre of the experience, I guess.
I think that the color also is, I think it's interesting because it's primitive, it's very dominant. What I've done actually in some kind of sensory teaching is that I've asked people to close their eyes and then open their mouth, and then in just making some noise and in a way giving the idea for the people that, or now I'm giving you something, so people don't put anything in their mouth if they cannot see it. So it's very dominant. Try sometimes. It's very funny because people really begin to laugh and they shut their mouth. They really don't let you put anything in their mouth when your eyes is closed. In wine region, in wine area, there's a lot of research actually of how the visual cues affect the wine tasting. So if you change the label, even the wine professionals taste the wine according to the label, not according to the wine. So they give, in a way, wrong. There's a nice research where the same wine has been labeled in France as a vin de table, table wine, and as a Grand Cru, the top quality. And when the wine was top quality, it was very nice, very good, very powerful and rich and balanced and so on. And the same one with label of vin de table it's weak and it's unbalanced and it's bad and so on. So it's very, the visual, the sight is very important in wine tasting also. There's also another nice research where the researchers changed the color of the wine. So they colored the white wine red, and the white wine with red color was analyzed with the same words than red wine.
usually.
Yeah. So the visual thing is very important, but you have to be very careful in the research because people use all the cues they get.
Yes, actually, I would like to just shortly ask a detail from what Charles you were telling that it's like microseconds when we make the decision. It means that we actually do the decision without analyzing what it's how do you say?
Yeah. So whether we're conscious of that decision,
Unconscious,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
But so Nestle have done a lot of research with food images. I guess thinking about what images to put on the packages of food, and there you see, within 1/100th of a second, you can see that the brain has decided to allocate its attention or its concentration to that food that has the most calories and not elsewhere. So at least some of that process is very, very rapid indeed. And that even, I think, if you look at how blood flow changes in the brain as we think or do one task or another, I think the biggest changes in blood flow you'll see from anything are from food images,
Okay.
or maybe if they're combined with food, that will see like a huge change
Sounds
in blood
good, doesn't
activity.
it?
The more information we give to people, the more concerned, or the more they know about it, and of course it changes their relation to this food. And it's the same with sound and soundscape as well. The more you tell people how to listen and what to listen, they might get slightly anxious because of that. Once you learn again to ignore
Am I
these
doing
sounds.
this right?
Yeah.